Welcome to the Mindset with Mako podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Mako. Join me each week as we delve into the transformative power of mindset and learn from successful business owners, influencers, and inspirational people who have changed their lives through the power of their mindset. All right, welcome to the Mindset with Mako podcast. Today, we have a very special and different so far guests joining us today. Savanna and Briggs, Gallacher are here today. They have a very special story that I think everyone needs to hear. They have gone through this incredible journey of IVF and trying to conceive for so long. And I think it's a story that everyone kind of wants to know a little bit more about, especially the 10.6 million people that saw your TikTok. Briggs. Yeah. I saw that.
A little flex.
Right.
A shout out.
Small flex.
Yeah, a little bit.
If you haven't seen it yet, it's on TikTok. Cool guy Briggs, right? That's
that I think
Briggsy
it might be
cool
Briggsy
guy.
cool guy.
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't even know my own handle.
Right. I remember when I first watched that. First off, great choice of song. Is that your wedding song? Or
it's not actually. Our wedding song is like even less like known.
I can't remember what the
I mean,
song
that's a
is.
popular song. These days it's not. But our wedding song is Downtown by Magical Clouds.
Oh yeah, it's a good song.
Haven't heard of that one.
Maybe that can be the song
really
when he's
good.
born or something.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love that song. And why'd you pick that song then?
I love the song also, and like we've used it a lot in like playlists that we've made just like for parts of our life, you know, like driving, whatever. I've always added that to like chill playlists. And I just wanted a song that like kind of spoke to me. And also on TikTok, it's a little bit hard. Like I wish there was like a way cooler answer, but it's hard to find like long enough songs.
It's true.
And that was like a long song.
A lot of content.
Yeah, because every song snippet's like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? So I love that song. Bright Eyes is one of the bands that I grew up listening to too. So the combination of the lyrics of that, and it kind of makes sense. Like this is the first day of your new life, right? Not just like on a romantic relationship level, but like with building your family. Right. I think that was so
sweet.
cool. And the whole build up, the whole story just had me in tears.
Oh, that's sweet.
Me too.
Thank you.
As I was making it, each time I like edited, I was like, oh, so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
Sweet. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about you guys, where you grew up, how you met. Where's the start of this love story?
A very non-romantic start to our love story. Well, I'll say where I'm from first. I'm from Denver, Colorado. Cool. So we met, 7-8 years ago. We've been married for almost 6 years now. 6 years this summer. You'd say where you're from?
I think we technically met in 2013.
Oh, right. You're right.
So you only dated for about a year?
That's a foreshadow.
Yeah.
So we met, Briggs had a little fling with my sister.
Oh, awkward.
Which is amazing.
I remember you telling me this story, but you can tell it again.
I mean, talk about romance. Yeah, it's everyone's like favorite. It's the whole wedding dinner was about my sister.
All the
No way.
speeches. All the speeches. Not the whole dinner.
Not the whole wedding dinner.
Everyone was just
all the
poking fun.
speeches. Oh yeah. Yeah. My sister and I are really close. She's a couple years older than me.
Paris, right?
Yeah. Paris is her name. And Briggs really wooed her over and right before they started college.
Well, look at his face.
I know. I mean, he was everyone.
Right.
So anyways, yeah, we met. She had come to California just to visit Briggs. It was casual, thankfully.
It was a casual thing, like freshman year.
Yeah.
But she was there and she was young.
14, 13.
Yeah, you were like 14 at the time.
And you were how old?
At that time I was 17.
17.
Still. I was at school early.
So still really young, but a little inappropriate for Briggs and I to be starting anything. I was 13 and he was very uninterested.
I'm glad I was uninterested.
Yeah, I'm glad you were uninterested as well. Anyways, and then years later, we kind of reconnected up at school. We were at school in Utah, and at that point, my sister was married. She had gracefully let the reins go on Briggs.
Gotcha. Where did you guys go to school that you met?
We both went to BYU.
Okay, BYU Provo.
Yeah, BYU Provo. Anyways, so yeah, we were friends for a really long time before we started dating, just because I don't know. I always joke. I told my roommates that I wanted to marry someone just like Briggs, but for some reason I just didn't think about marrying him. We just were friends for a really long time. I think probably because of my sister. Anyways, but it's kind of a funny story. Not a conventional love story.
But so you guys kept in touch somehow, like through social media after you and Paris stopped dating?
Not even. We just I went to school in Hawaii first. I was at BYU Hawaii for a while, and then once I moved back to Utah, we just connected through friends. And the best man at our wedding actually asked me on a date, and it was a group date with Briggs, like right when I moved back to Utah. Yeah, and here we are.
And here you are.
Yeah,
7 years later.
Yeah.
All worked out.
So yeah, we got married in 2017.
Yep.
Right. So yeah.
So you only dated for about a year before you got married.
Yeah. It was quick. It was fast and furious.
Yeah.
You're not from Utah, but
yeah.
But you did the Utah thing.
Followed
Actually,
that.
that's pretty long for Utah.
Yeah.
It's like, I think the average is like 3 or 4 months. That's not like an official statistic.
But
it's
it
just what I
feels
see.
official.
Yeah.
Official enough.
No,
'cause-
it was so fast. I think about it now. I'm like, that was crazy how fast that was. But yeah, when you know, you know.
Yeah, I love that. So you guys got married. Where'd you get married?
Denver.
In Denver?
Yeah, my hometown.
It was awesome. Denver, and then we had our reception in Colorado Springs in like a forest.
Yeah.
We had
sick.
like Turkish rugs on the ground for our dance floor and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Wow. And then you got married. Where'd you go for the honeymoon?
We went to the Cayman Islands.
How was that?
It was so fun.
It was amazing.
Yeah, we should go back.
Utilized a little bit of my brother's Instagram clout for some accounts he owned, and we got some free stays out there. So,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
it was
That's
very
awesome.
nice.
Did he gift that to you as like
Kind of.
wedding
He's like,
gift?
yeah, you can use my account to like reach out to hotels to see if you can stay there. So
Really?
I wish it was still that powerful.
I
7
know,
years
back
ago,
in the
there
day,
was
like these accounts, they were just travel accounts. They weren't like personality accounts,
Right.
but yeah, we stayed at like the Ritz for free.
No way.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
amazing.
That's sick.
We felt
Was-
like imposters the whole time. Like,
Yeah,
like
I showed up in like literally like the worst car I've ever driven.
Wow.
like the rental car.
What was the trade-off for you get to feature them on
It
the
was like a couple of posts.
Oh, it was so easy. Yeah, we weren't even in the post. It was like a picture of the hotel, a picture of the beach. It was so easy.
Sweet. How many followers does he have?
There was 3 accounts. One was like 400 and something thousand. The other was like 70 something thousand, and the other was like 100 and something. But they all posted the same stuff, and it was like I said, it wasn't like people in them. It was just like pictures of resorts, of beaches, things.
So
like
they
Yeah.
wanted to be featured and they
Yeah,
hooked you guys up.
yeah.
Well,
it
that's
was
cool.
it
for
was
him.
awesome. I know, way cooler for us. They
Right?
got to use
was
it.
awesome.
But yeah, he's used it a bunch too.
I love that. And so then you guys came back, and were you like pretty established in your careers after college, or what were you doing after you got married?
Go
Great
ahead.
question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm trying to remember. I went to design school and business school at BYU, and then design school in Salt Lake.
Cool.
And I started design pretty much right away. I knew that's what I wanted to do. So we kind of moved around for a while. We moved around for a few internships for Briggs, and then we moved to Phoenix for a while, and I was working in design. Still what I'm doing. Briggs.
My career was very different.
What were you doing?
I got at BYU. I would changed majors a lot. At one point, I was doing Arabic, and the only reason I changed,
Really?
yeah, and I love languages. Like I've always liked learning them, and so Arabic was really fun. But part of the reason that I actually switched majors was because part of that major was going to Jordan for like 6 months. And I knew that I wanted to like marry Sav. And so
It just
I didn't
wasn't
wanna
in the
go.
stars.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I just interviewed the owner of MJ Pianos in American Fork. His name's Matt Johnson. He did all that.
Really?
Oh, really?
He majored in Arabic, and he went to Jordan for 6 months.
Oh, that's funny.
Kind of
That's
told
cool.
his whole story there too.
Yeah.
But you were like, no, not for me. I got to marry this girl.
Exactly. I was like, not for me. So I went back. I was always doing a double major with German, and it's like a German and cultural studies major. And then I switched to a double major in German and construction management.
Wow.
all over the board.
Yeah. Ended up
Trying to
only
hit all the points.
Exactly. Only majoring in German because I had a job offer from a pretty large commercial builder. So yeah, that's what I did in Phoenix. But career-wise, like all throughout college, I was doing ad buying. I was building Amazon stores. I was doing lead gen, SEO. Like I was all online.
A lot of online marketing stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I just decided like, oh, I want to try something like really established. So construction management was the way to go.
Wow.
And then a sharp left turn back to where you started.
Yeah, and now you're working for a startup in the NFT space, right?
Yeah. So I started with my brother. Well, I should say brother-in-law. I say brother. I've known him since for a very long time. But my brother-in-law, we started it in 2021. It was called Barbie NFT. Recently this year merged into another agency called Arvo.
Oh, sweet.
So there's still an NFT Web3 division of Arvo, which I run, including just all organic social. And then there's email marketing, SEO, and web dev. So
Nice. So that's what keeps you busy all day.
Yep.
I always see your B-reels, and half the time it's there. But you work remote a lot, right?
Yeah, I work. Yeah, we have an office. We have a building in Provo, like downtown. Cool. And so everyone's there on Mondays, but other than that, I'm pretty much at home.
The B-reels are consistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. So you guys just got married. You're settling into your careers, or into what kind of started. Did you guys try to start having babies like ASAP, or were you more focused on career building, or what was that like?
Yeah, you can jump in if you disagree with anything, but we got married really young. I was really young, and my career was really important to me. I really wanted to work in design. So we wanted to definitely wait a while. And then 4 years in, probably, we had talked about starting to try to get pregnant, but for anyone who's been there, it's a really big decision to decide when to start your family, you know?
Changes your life.
Yeah. It's a huge decision. So, I had some health issues in the past, but we had kind of started trying, but leisurely. It wasn't
we both knew, I think both of us had a feeling, even if we hadn't have talked about it, I think we both knew we were going to have a hard time for some reason.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know why.
Yeah. I would agree with that. But
that intuition.
Yeah, it was kind of a, unconventional entrance, if you will, to the infertility world. I got a diagnosis a couple months into trying. We'd only been trying for, 4 or 5 months probably. Yeah.
And how did you get that diagnosis?
So I hadn't been feeling great. I felt like something was wrong. So went in just to my doctor and had surgery for endometriosis. It's really common in a lot of women have it, but got the surgery because I felt like I had it, but you can't get diagnosed without the surgery, which is crazy to me in 2023. Yeah. But anyways, I got diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis, which that's pretty rare to have it that severe. And it was right when we had moved to Phoenix. So we'd moved away from all of our family and got this diagnosis. And basically my doctor said, which I don't know if I agree with this anymore, but this is what happened. Kind of said, if you ever want to have a family, you need to do IVF right now, basically, because they want to do a hysterectomy immediately. So take my uterus and everything out. So yeah, I had just started a new job in Phoenix. We had just moved, and we were like, okay, well, I guess, we knew we wanted a family, and I don't know that we necessarily were ready. Well, I think we were ready for a family right then. I don't know. Now it's hard to look back and see that
we're not ready.
Yeah, I know.
We're like, oh my goodness.
I know, years in. I guess it hadn't been 4 years, 3.5 or so, 3, I don't know. But anyways, so yeah, it was kind of an unconventional, we were told that we would have a fertility problem and then started IVF the next week. It was pretty immediately.
You took her advice and you went for it.
Yeah, we saw a couple doctors and got a few second opinions, and everyone was kind of the same thing. My endometriosis was so bad and it had destroyed so much of my insides.
For people who don't know what that is, explain a little bit.
I know, thank you. I forgot that. Yeah. So endometriosis is essentially where the tissue inside your uterus grows where it shouldn't, just on the outside. And a ton of women have it, and it's pretty common. But it's just causes pain and bloating and cramping and things like that. But it can cause infertility. Not for everyone who has it, but for a large number of people who have endo.
There's also stages vastly different, depending on how severe it is.
Yeah.
And you had a stage 4.
Stage 4,
is
yeah.
That
that's the worst.
That's
yeah.
the worst.
Yeah.
Okay.
It goes up. There's 4 stages.
On your esophagus, it gets everywhere when it's on stage.
So I had kind of had it in a lot of different areas, and it was, I could feel, I wasn't feeling good when we moved there. I knew something was wrong. But right after you get the surgery is when you're the most fertile, because they scrape it all out. And so it was kind of if I was ever going to get pregnant, even through IVF or anything, it was right then.
Now's the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was I didn't know any of that going into the surgery. I didn't know we had a fertility problem. I didn't know any of that. I was just trying to kind of take care of my health type of thing. And,
get feeling better. And then you get slapped with this news.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, everyone have a family. You should do it now.
Yeah.
What
now.
What was that like, receiving that kind of now or never kind of decision? Or
It's so hard. Yeah, it was really hard. It was super overwhelming to me. And I think also, I don't know, I'm trying to think back, but for me at least, I think, so I'll go into a little bit what happened after that, and then I'll circle back to that question. Sorry. So we jumped right into our first round of IVF, did our first round, which took several months, like finding a doctor and, getting everything started. But all of our doctors were super stressing the time sensitiveness of my nature specifically. Endo grows every time you have a period or ovulate. So 2 times a month, it was like attacking my body. So it was like, time was of the essence, which was really stressful to not feel like I had the decision to like try naturally or even be sure that we were ready to do this.
Or do some research or think about it. That's tough.
We tried to get some second opinions, and we did, but it was like we felt really strongly that we felt pressure that it was kind of time to do that. Anyways, but after our first round, which was, 6 months after all the medication and stuff, we actually got pregnant with twins. We transferred 2 embryos, got pregnant, and we were so excited. And then I miscarried those twins. And
how far along were you when you miscarried?
Early. I was 7 weeks. It was early.
8 at the actual time? 7
or 8. I don't remember. It was early, but super hard. But after that happened, I had a ton of guilt. Like, I don't know. Guilt kind of like, it was so overwhelming knowing to start. And then I wasn't even sure that I was ready. And then I got pregnant and was so excited. And then when we lost it, I was so sad and realized that was like my best chance ever kind of getting pregnant, and just had a lot of guilt for not like being, I don't know. I'm having a hard time articulating it, but yeah, just the time sensitiveness of it. And, the abruptness was really hard to wrap my head around, especially because I felt selfish for kind of like being involved in my career and not being sure that I really wanted to do that.
Yeah. It was a really bad situation because like, I think I was always not more excited to have kids, but I think I was just generally more ready because I'm not the one growing a baby inside.
Right. We have it a little easy. Yeah. We've got one job. That's about it.
Yeah.
So, but what made it so hard, at least in my opinion, is that we were thrust into it with not really any options out, because as we were told, like this was the only option, like either this or just not have kids. And then it was a really bad situation because not only does endo grow whenever you're ovulating or on a period, but the IVF medication to create the follicles and the eggs to harvest, basically to retrieve, flares that up even worse. Like for Savanna, like having her go through that and basically being forced into it is like so hard, because the best option also is like the worst pain, because all of that just gets like exacerbated.
It's a double-edged sword. Yeah.
Yeah, because I did a little bit of research on IVF to try to prepare for this. So I watched a couple of YouTube videos.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there is a lot of injections and medications that go into before you extract the eggs at all.
Yeah, right? A ton. Yeah.
How is that on your body or your...
Yeah, it's really hard. Yeah. So there's a lot of medication involved, and it can look different per patient and depending on kind of what leads you to IVF, but there's a ton of injections. There's kind of 2 parts to IVF. There's the retrieval process and the transfer process. Right. So the retrieval you do, 6 weeks typically?
Of medication?
Of shots, yeah. Shots. Well, you do a lot of oral medication beforehand, and then about 4 to 6 weeks or more, depending on kind of what's the issue.
It depends on when you start. Yeah. I think like when they really start stimulating the follicles, it's only a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So at one point I was on like 7 injections a day, but that was only for a couple days.
Wow.
But typically it's like 3 or 4 injections just in your belly. And it's weird. It feels like you're carrying around rocks in your stomach. It's a really weird. Feels weird, but yeah, it makes you pretty sick too. Like obviously just you're shooting your body up with all sorts of hormones and making it do unnatural things and produce like a ton of eggs. So you just feel weird emotionally and physically.
I saw in the video, the TikTok that I referenced, that you would help administer some of those shots. Would you always help with that?
I did every single one besides like a couple that her friends did, or like
I think like 2.
Yeah, we had a friend who was in nursing school, and I was like, do you want to do this one? Like she was like, I just learned, And so, I mean, some of them are in the butt. And so like technically, I think women can do
in
it,
like
but
the
it's
upper
hard.
hip, but not in
The glute, like not like
the glute muscle, to be clear. Wouldn't let a friend do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in the stomach, but Savanna just, I think you felt usually a little.
It's spooky. Yeah, it's so
nauseous or
cringy.
spooky about it. So, but yeah, like the one in the glute is like a thick gauge needle.
It's a big one.
And the stuff is like a thick oil that has to come
The
out.
needle is bigger than my pointer finger, like the actual needle that has to go in.
Yeah,
You
have
got to
to
go
put it
all the way.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So it's just freaky
There's
to
a
do it
part
to
of that
myself.
everyone commented on that video on TikTok
Yeah.
because everyone's like, the way he did that shot is so horrible. But I'm like, you don't understand. There's scar tissue built up from hundreds of these. And if I don't go like full dart mode,
It won't even go through.
like it gets stuck. And
It'll
like,
fight it. It like suctions it out.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
have like knots still from it. But yeah, there's a lot of medication, and it's hard for sure. It just kind of messes with you mentally too. Like, you know, you're already doing something that's
there's
atypical and
bruising.
hard. Yeah, hurts. There's bruising and stuff.
So then you did your first round of IVF.
Mm-hmm.
How many eggs did you guys retrieve? First.
So I don't know how many eggs. I can't remember how many eggs we retrieved, but I don't remember.
Follicles was 37, right?
Something. Yeah, I was really young when we started and relatively healthy besides the endo. So we got a ton of eggs actually, but our problem was they didn't fertilize very well for whatever reason. So how it kind of works is they give you like an egg count after the surgery. So you actually go under and it's a surgery to retrieve the eggs. And then they fertilize them with the sperm, which is actually so crazy. They handpick his best sperm, like the individual 5 or whatever, and then inject them into my eggs.
Right, in a petri dish,
yeah,
right?
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, you did do your research.
did,
Wow,
yeah,
you got deep on YouTube. Yeah. So we only had 5 that successfully fertilized with each other and actually made it to freeze.
Gotcha. And at that point, they become an embryo.
Yeah, at that point it's an embryo. Yeah, that's like stored away,
They
ready
mature
for
it
use.
5 days.
Right. And then you freeze some of them, and then you go put one in your uterus.
Yes.
Right.
So then you there's kind of 2 methods, but the ones that we did, you put them in the freezer and then you have to let your body detox all the meds from the retrieval. So you have to wait a couple weeks depending on how long your body takes. And then you start a whole nother couple week to couple month injection process again to get your body ready for the transfer.
Gotcha.
And then you go in and transfer into your uterus.
And so did you get pregnant with those twins on the first transfer?
Yeah.
Okay. So
it was, we were super lucky. I was really surprised. We had been given like pretty good.
We had decent odds
odds
the first time.
the first
because
time.
she had just had that endo surgery, and they also did they cleared out her fallopian tubes. Like she was like ready to go for
It was
prime.
sparkling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so I can imagine that, that going through all that process and then having the high of like, wow, we got it on our first try. And then 7 weeks later, you just go like all the way back down to square one.
Totally. I think also like, I don't know about you, but I hadn't even really considered or thought of I wasn't even scared of miscarrying or losing it. We were just so concerned that we weren't going to get pregnant that we were shocked that we got pregnant. And then it was, I'm sure everyone who loses a pregnancy, it's such a surprise. But it wasn't something that I was scared of or that we had really talked about even
Or
before
planned
it
for.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one plans for that.
Yeah.
Had you already told your family?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
tough.
We had told
We
a
were
lot of people.
We were visiting for family reunion, so we weren't gonna keep it a secret. We're like, this is the greatest news ever. You know?
And that was like what, week 6 or like a week before?
Yeah.
How?
It was week 7, I think.
seven.
Yeah.
when we were here.
Yeah, it was devastating. So I definitely had never understood the kind of depth of that sorrow for people who lose a pregnancy even that early. It's devastating because your whole world changes for a couple weeks, thinking that you're planning on your due date and especially because so much went into getting pregnant that first time that it was devastating to lose it, and also just devastating to lose what I felt like at the time was like really our only shot, because they grade your embryos.
Oh yeah.
They grade your embryos, and we only had one that was like even decent grading, and that was one of the 2 that we transferred, and all of our other ones had a really poor rating. So it was like,
And so what did you do with those? Were those
we transferred all of them over the next 2 years.
You did all. How long do you have to wait before you transfer the next time after a miscarriage?
That's a good question. A couple months.
As long as the medication's out of your system and you ovulate again.
Yeah, but then you got to start have to start all the injections over. So that kind of sucks too. Like if it doesn't work out, you just have months of injections that just were for nothing kind of thing.
So from
They're
the
expensive.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So
expensive.
from the initial retrieval, then how many times did you guys go back to the drawing board, do all the injections, and do the transfer again?
So we transferred all 5 of our embryos.
You do that 5
This
times.
this was
did.
our 6th embryo we've transferred. So 6 times.
We did the 2, and then we did another one, and then we came to Utah and we did a couple of IUIs. We skipped that process, which usually in the infertility world, you kind of, there's like steps, you know, you like try for, you know, a year, and then you go in and then you do IUIs. But just because of the nature of it, we went straight to IVF. But once we got here, we're like, well, let's just try a couple IUIs. It's much less expensive. But those didn't work. So then we went ahead and transferred our last embryo.
Now, that first one with the twins and all that was here in Utah, though, right?
That was in Arizona.
Oh, that was
actually.
in Arizona.
Yeah.
It was stateside, though, right?
Yeah, stateside. Yeah.
Because I know you guys went to Prague.
Yeah.
So at what point were you guys like, what made that decision if you needed to go, you know, to Europe to do this?
So when we first started IVF, when we got all of our 5 embryos, we were always under the understanding that would be like we had 5 to work with kind of thing. And I don't know about you, but when we had 5, I was thinking, okay, like we'll get pregnant with twins, and then the 3rd one will be our 3rd kid, and then the 4th embryo. Like I was thinking that was our whole family, you know?
Yeah.
And we just blazed through all those embryos so fast. But because of what it does to my endometriosis, every time I do the shots, our doctors were like, okay, you can't really do another retrieval because it's so hard on my body.
And the likelihood of you getting pregnant just keeps going down.
Every time it was like,
down.
it was like significant. Every round, the odds we were given was like significantly lower. So, which also made that miscarriage feel so much greater each time that we were like getting farther and farther away from it kind of thing, and just going through all of our embryos. But so after our 5th embryo that we transferred, we were devastated because
you were out.
We were done. Yeah. And we were told by, I don't know, 4 doctors before and during, after. Yeah. So many doctors that we weren't going to have a family, or not that we weren't going to have a family, but that we weren't going to be able, that I wasn't going to be able to conceive, like that we wouldn't be able to carry a baby.
At that point, we were already starting adoption. So we had gone to like the first conference of 10 hours of training. Like we were already in that process.
We were already fully in the adoption.
Which we're excited
world.
about. We're still going to do it, actually. So
cool. I love that.
Adoption's awesome. But so we there wasn't really any talk of like anything after the 5 embryos, and after, I don't know, at that point we had been doing IVF for like 2 years, a year and a half. I don't know, a long time. And ultimately I would say I just couldn't handle it. Like I was devastated to think that at so young that I wasn't going to be able to grow or start a family on my own, you know, and there was, I mean, pretty much 0 chance of that happening naturally. It was only through IVF that we could do it. We had all sorts of issues between egg and sperm, and and so, there was pretty much 0 chance of happening naturally. So we just sat with that for a couple months after the 5th embryo transfer, and we're just so sad. And then we just
we kind of went back and forth a lot, like trying to make the decision if we would try again.
Another round of IVF.
Yeah. Because it's a financial, emotional, physical, like all of these factors go into the decision. Luckily with our first one, it was a blessing because that company that I worked for, they are like very few companies offer infertility packages, and they had like a $25,000 lifetime stipend basically for that. So, I mean, we blew through that in about like a week and a half.
literally. Yeah.
But,
sucked every penny out of that.
Yeah. But I mean, it got us through the initial retrieval and I think like part of our first transfer. So we just knew that the retrieval is just kind of the most expensive part. And so we're like the financial side, we were weighing the side of like the medical side for Savanna was really hard, just emotionally. Like we just didn't know.
Like if you want to do this again.
Yeah. Well, also
because the odds were worse.
Yeah. Right? The odds were like 0 basically.
The doctors were basically telling you like there's no point.
Yeah. That's what everyone was saying. Everyone in the US was like, it's kind of a waste of money kind of thing. Which also we kept weighing, like every time I did the injections and all the medication and stuff, it made my endometriosis so much worse that if I wanted to be a young mom, awesome. But if I feel like crap because I just destroyed my body to get there, then that's kind of a hard decision too, you know? So anyways, it was a really hard decision. And we were surprised that we kind of did another one. How did we even find Prague? I don't remember.
Well, we just started looking at cost effective options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a sec. I'm so ignorant in that sense. Like, I don't even know how much that a whole round of IVF.
Oh, that is not ignorant. No one knows.
From like start to end, right? Start to like the last attempt to transfer. Like,
oh, it's disgusting how much it is.
I've actually wanted to, I really don't like making TikToks, but I feel like a lot of people, this would help actually. And so after this one kind of went crazy, there was some ideas that I wanted to share what those numbers look like. I would say
it definitely depends
states,
greatly on like what clinic you go to, but in the States,
we were probably at like 70 grand.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow,
but one round like retrieval and transfer typically is around like 25,000, 25,000.
Yeah. And it also depends on where the medication's from. For various reasons, we had to get medication from a singular pharmacy. So like 1 week of medication was like 10 grand. So that's insane. And sometimes you can get that from.
Oh, like you're just doing an injection and you're like, oh, that's $1,000. Like it's like gold. Yeah, it's
but you can
hard.
sometimes find that same medication for more like 3 grand. So it can vary, but
give or take, you're looking at $50,000 to $70,000 probably.
A transfer
for multiple. Usually people don't do multiple like that. So usually it's not that overwhelming, but yeah, so that 25,000 that we had through his work, which was the greatest blessing of all time, was one retrieval, and like I don't even know if it covered. I think it covered most of the first transfer, but
transfers cost around like 4 to 5, maybe 6 grand depending on where you go.
Yeah.
So you were researching a little more cost-effective routes.
Yeah.
And you found Prague.
We found just international in general, and then Savanna did a ton of research and found that Prague is kind of unique because they have a lot of clinics that cater to the US, and they're also outside of the kind of slow moving FDA process. So they have a lot of new techniques, but at the very least they do the exact same thing here. Like it's not a worse procedure.
Yeah.
It's the same, but maybe they do a little something more.
I think it's kind of, Prague is kind of the epicenter for fertility treatments and fertility research too. So they were very researched on endometriosis specifically. We met with so many clinics in Prague to find the one. It was obviously hard to like narrow it down. But yeah, there's actually a lot of Americans that go to Prague. We found a big community of people on Reddit and Facebook and stuff who have done this. And so we were able to get some good recommendations and stuff, but definitely the greatest decision we've made up into this point.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just say like for a retrieval and one transfer, it was 3,500, right?
Yeah.
That didn't include medication, but I think medication came out to like 1,000.
Yeah. So compared to what we paid in the States, night and day. And then obviously you got to pay for flights and, housing and stuff like that and food while you're there. But it still was significantly cheaper with all that than what we did in the States. And way more fun.
Yeah. So, and you had the help from the grant from your employer. Other than that, did you guys just save up like all your money from working? Like that's what a financial hole.
Yeah. We obviously spent pretty much all of our money plus the grant from work. My dad, he like called me and he was just like, hey, you're doing a transfer soon, right? This was in Utah. It was at the U. And he was like, how much is it? And I was like, it's like $3,500. He's like, okay, I got this one. And I was
so sweet.
I was like bawling, like I was in the car. Anyways, he's amazing. So, yeah. So we've had a lot of help. I mean,
so we
can get into what you did for us too.
We don't have to talk about that.
I'll leave it up to you. I would love to, but
if you want to, you can. But this is about you guys today.
No, we're on the financial topic. So, Adrian, I don't even think we've talked about this, but he was our realtor. So
yes, help you buy a house. That's how we met.
Yeah, and
which at the time we bought the house because we were hoping to adopt.
I remember when you opened up to me about that. You said one of the biggest reasons that we need to buy a house is because this is step one to helping us go through the adoption process. And I love learning the people's why as far as they want to buy a house, because the house and the real estate process that's just like the action of it, right?
Yeah.
But there's typically a deeper meaning, and I love that you guys had that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was our first step, like you said, and we had a great experience. We love our house. We're still there. It's awesome. And you called out of the blue. Actually, you were trying to get a hold of us for a while, actually. And we felt bad that like we weren't able to get together with you. But we met up at another friend's house who you had then also helped buy a house. And you were just like, hey,
Which the amount of times I've thought about that, I'm like, you're trying to come over. I'm like, oh, I'm actually not.
I know.
Swing by my friend's house.
I need to get you guys this money. I didn't want to just, keep postponing it.
Yeah. So, but you just basically were like, I've gone around to like everyone I know, just told them your story, and here's a check for $5,000. And it was, yeah, I know. I was like in shock. You probably were like, is he happy? Is he? Because I was just like,
I could tell you were like, what is happening?
Yeah. So there's a little even more backstory. Like we had like a plumbing issue. I think that's why. Yeah. And so.
Yeah, I mean, well, that broke my heart because I was inviting you guys to that baseball game that we were doing for my clients, and and you told me about the plumbing issue, and I knew you guys were getting ready to go to Prague and do the whole IVF thing, and I was like, it just broke my heart. Like I was like, I was talking to Kim, I was like, I need to do something. She's like, why do you feel guilty? I was like, I don't feel guilty. I was like, I feel like these are good people, and something crappy just happened to them. So like, what can I do to help them out? So it wasn't just me. So don't think think it was hundreds of people that donated. And all I had to do is tell your story. And this is why I wanted to have you here today to tell your story. I'm so bad to updating people that donated. But I did
for everyone that donated. Thank you.
Yeah. My team, donated a bulk of that. My real estate team, about like 60, 70 agents. And I told them last Tuesday for the first time that I was like, talking about my podcast, social media, and all that stuff. And I told them that you guys were coming. I was like, oh yeah, by the way, those donations that you guys gave, she's pregnant now. And everyone just like,
that's amazing.
They don't even know you guys, but they were rooting for you.
Can I say his name?
Yeah, he says
you can tell him Ansel said thank you.
Ansel?
Yeah, that's his name.
I was going to ask
Ansel.
Why Ansel?
It's a family name, and Ansel Adams, photographer of Yosemite. So I'm from California. Mm-hmm. Grew up really in the Sierra Nevadas, and I love Yosemite. And so Ansel Adams is kind of the guy who put that on the map. I mean, John Muir discovered it, but like Ansel Adams took pictures of it, and everyone loves it. So, that's awesome. And then,
plus we just like the name.
It's a good name. So
it's a good name, Ansel.
But, anyways, I can't even like talk about that without crying.
I know.
But what everyone did for us is like the most humbling thing, that people who don't even know us and people like you, our real estate agent, not to like demean our friendship, we're friends, but I just, I can't believe that there's people out there in the world. Like there's people who go through a lot of stuff a lot harder than what we've been through. But the financial aspect is a really hard aspect of IVF and trying to start a family. And that was the greatest blessing of all time, just to be able to go on that journey to Prague and feel like it wasn't going to, financially destroy us for the next decade, and
I love that I had an opportunity to help you guys in some way. So
we are eternally grateful. Yes. The house house and the baby, we really owe it all to you.
No, it's not all me. I'm a little piece of the puzzle, maybe, if that.
No, a large piece, but truly we can't thank you enough. We still actually cry about it quite frequently, but especially that night, we literally cried the whole night. Like we couldn't even like look at each other.
My family did too.
Both of our families. Yeah. So anyways, that's the greatest blessing of all, because of course you're going to do it. Of course you're going to, if you have an opportunity, of course you're just going to put it on the credit card and just try anything you can. But so we can't thank you enough. And everyone who contributed to that. Yeah.
So you get this money, you go to Prague. What happens in Prague?
Prague was great.
It was great.
It looked beautiful.
Here's why it was great, is because Sav and I were legitimately depressed. Like we were in the depths. Like we just kind of been through the ringer and we were just down.
Over it.
And so thinking about doing that again in like just like in the same place that we'd been doing it, and like we just needed to do something different. So being in a different country, like it separated us from that, and it felt like a new thing, even though it was the same process.
I romanticized the experience a little bit.
It just felt new.
Yeah. I'm sure the settings there were very romantic.
Yeah.
Sunsets and things like that.
It was a little more enjoyable. But it's funny because we say that it was so great because this is our souvenir. But when we were there, it was so hard. Like we were pretty darn depressed there too.
We came home. I mean, we'll get into this. We came home fully expecting that it didn't work. Like we had zero.
It honestly went really poorly there with the clinic. Yeah. So we were really sad there, and I don't know. now it's easy to look back on like all these amazing things that we did while we were there, and like, you know, and think that it was so great because I was carrying a baby, but we didn't know that at the time. It was like, we thought that was the end of it all for us while we were there.
How long did you guys spend in Prague?
So we actually came home early because we were so sad. Yeah, we were supposed to be there for about 5 weeks.
Yeah, we were there for 3.5.
Yeah, which is crazy. You can do it that fast there. But yeah, that was for retrieval. And if you want, I can get into kind of what happened there.
Yeah, I do.
But,
yeah, what did the retrieval process
So
look
we
like?
did the retrieval, which was pretty similar. I had started the medication in the States and then gone there when it got late enough where I had to be there for like check-ins and things like that. So I was at the doctor pretty frequently, like every other day, once we got there or ish. And we knew from the kind of get-go that it wasn't going very well because I had so much damage from all the previous rounds that right away we knew we were dealing with like a fraction of the numbers that we had the first time. And so I didn't get that many eggs. We didn't.
How many, if you don't mind me asking?
It was like 9.
Nine eggs, like not even fertilized.
And what's typical?
I mean, all across
depends. The board. But there is a kind of a typical range of like how the numbers fall off as you graduate in like the progression. So like follicle to egg, it goes like almost half, and then egg to like fertilized.
And then each night some die off.
Yeah, and then as they mature, and so that's kind of uniform a little bit more across the board.
Yeah.
But you know, some people have 50 follicles.
Right.
Some people have.
So you had 9.
I had
How many
9.
were like matured?
Oh, I think it was like 6 or something like that. And then you have to wait. It's horrible. You have to wait several days for them to kind of give you an update and tell you like how many fertilized, how many made it through the night, how many successfully make it to freeze. You have to like reach all these benchmarks.
Right.
But ours was atypical because on day 3, so we were planning on transferring on planning on freezing them on day 5 and then going back to Prague in the winter to do the transfer.
But there's also such thing as a fresh transfer,
which we had never really looked into that much. But basically, we did the retrieval. Our doctor called us on day 3 and said, "Hey, I'm so sorry. You only have 2. You only have 1. You only have 1 embryo, and it's probably not going to make it. Like we're not even grading it. It's not even on the map."
So you went from 9 to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this, so if you freeze them, you do a day 5, even though it's after day 5, but they were frozen at day 5. If you do a fresh, you do it at day 3. That's just kind of how it works out.
Gotcha.
And like Savanna said, the embryologist was like, it's a weird color. It just is weird shaped. It's like.
So you're saying he's one of a kind.
Yeah. Like, we'll see if he's weird color or shape when he comes out.
No,
Hope not.
They're just like, it's just not going to mature. Like it's day 3, but it'll probably just like not. They said it for sure won't survive to day 5.
Yeah, they're like, it's not going to make it to day 5. So we were devastated because we're like, okay, well, it didn't work. So we got nothing. We were just going to go home with nothing. And that was the end of kind of trying.
Right.
And then on day 4, day 4, they said it actually did make it through the night. Like we were just waiting to see if it died, basically. Day 4, they said it did make it through the night. And it was kind of we said, can we do like an emergency fresh transfer, which I don't think anyone in the US would probably do that because I wasn't on any of the medication to be doing a transfer. Whereas if that, you know, if we were planning on doing a transfer, I would have been on all the all the injections to get my body ready for the transfer.
That's the difference between a fresh one and.
Well, either way, you'd do the medication for the transfer. But if you were doing a fresh, you would be on it in preparation for that day. You've been on it for a while, you know, getting ready for that day 3 embryo.
But you guys weren't expecting that because it already looked so poorly.
Yeah. And we were planning on doing a frozen. So we were planning on going home, coming back to transfer months later.
We also we were asking like, you know, can we wait for it to go to day 5 or like, does it have a better chance being like in a womb? Like, is it different being in a petri dish versus a womb?
I thought you said in a room.
Oh, no.
In a womb.
A room of sorts.
A cozy room. Yeah.
And the doctor was like, no. He's like, I mean, this is like Eastern Europe. So he's like kind of blunt. He's like, no, it doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work like that. And he's like, you know, emotionally, if you feel better, sure.
Yeah, I'm never going to forget. That's exactly what he said.
No shade on them. They were amazing.
They were awesome.
It was just, I mean, I appreciate
culturally,
how he was, but he was like, it's not going to change anything being in the lab or in your womb. But like, if emotionally it feels better for like you to be with your embryo
when it dies
to die, then you can do that.
Sure.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. He was like, if it makes you feel better, we'll do it. But like, he gave us and we said, is there any hope?
Like,
and he said,
a percentage chance.
And he was like, less than 1%. He's like, I'm not going to say 0%, but he was like, less than 1%. It's not going to make it.
You guys had a less than 1% chance for this embryo too.
Yeah. Less than 1%. And I wasn't on medication, which is crazy. Like
so all the odds stacked against
and we traveled across the world 2 days after, which in the past I've been on bed rest after transfer. So it was like everything stacking against it working out, you know, like we were, we had pretty much no hope.
If you see the video, you'll see the shock on our face. Like both of us, we were like, when Savanna took the test, the only reason we like were looking at them was to just like, I think the reason there was hesitation for us to look at the test was because we knew we were going to see a negative, and we knew that meant that like our biological child journey was over.
Yeah.
So that's why like there's hesitation, but it wasn't hesitation like we were holding on for hope. It was
there was honestly really no hope.
You were ready for the no.
Yeah.
So what made you decide that, or how quickly did you guys decide, no, we want to go ahead and do the transfer?
Oh, on that day, probably like a couple hours.
We had like a couple hours. We're like, okay, well, we might as well try. Yeah, like we're going home. Yeah. So did the transfer. We were so sad. It wasn't like this fun, happy day. We were devastated.
Those videos are very sad.
I know. We honestly don't have like great pictures. Yeah, we were so sad. And then after that day, especially, both of us were like, we're over it. We want to go home. We're so sad. You know, we want to go back and be with friends and family. We need support. Like, this is over. Right. And on our flight home, I actually emailed the social worker that we had been working with through the adoption and said, okay, we're officially ready to go. Like, we had worked with her for the past couple months, and we said, yeah, we're ready to do this. And scheduled like our home study visit with her for when we got home. Yeah. So it's funny to see that email now. I'm like, okay, we're ready to start adoption. We're not, we're not starting a family. And then
just going to restart the email chain in a year.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. And then it was a couple days later that we got that positive pregnancy test. And I don't know who's more surprised, us or our doctor.
What did he say?
I don't think we've heard from him. We've heard from there's IVF coordinators. They're not really nurses. They're just like they like run everything and make sure your appointments are on. Her name's Pavla, and she's amazing.
We love her.
Pavla.
She's awesome. Yeah. She was surprised and really happy.
Well, it's funny, just culturally, I kind of think she didn't believe me. Like I sent her the positive test and was like, I'm pregnant. And I think she said, her response was funny. It was just over email. And her response was something like, oh, let's see if there's a heartbeat or something like that.
Oh yeah. It was like, let's get to the next. And we were like, just
and
even
once we had the baseline heartbeat appointment,
it's like
she said,
efficacy like 6-week test where it's like, is this like an actual pregnancy?
Is this going or is this?
And even after that, she was like, let's see the first ultrasound. Like she told, I feel like they didn't believe because they were all like, what, that embryo? And then once I was like out of my first trimester, she sent us an email and was like, I cannot believe you're pregnant. This is such a miracle.
It's a miracle.
And they actually, that TikTok made it all the way to Prague. One of the nurses at the clinic saw it
and shared it.
Yeah. And they reached out to us.
This? I was like, of course. I was like, I hope this doesn't like, because some of the people in the comments were like, yeah, that shows doctors. And I'm like, doctors are just giving you like what they know.
That's funny. I didn't even know
so
that.
I'm like, I hope they're not like mad the way I framed it, because it was just like, there was such a low chance, but like it worked.
Yeah.
Well, I think I would respect them more for doing that, because they're setting realistic expectations with you.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want to get your hopes up and promise all these, empty promises and say, you there's a chance, Yeah,
there was none of that.
No, I think it's good the way they do it, honestly. I think because then you're pleasantly surprised. Because you guys said, when you took the pregnancy test, you were almost looking for a no.
Yeah.
Oh,
you were
for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Test.
Oh, I almost passed out. I could not, I truly could not believe that it was.
That was the part of the video where I just broke down. And when you guys, your faces and like the joy and I can't even talk about it.
I can't.
I get watered up too when I think about it.
Oh yeah.
That was like the best memory. I mean, there's ever since I feel like we've kind of just been on cloud 9 since then, but like that moment was like, I don't know if I've ever experienced more joy. Sorry, on our wedding day, but
no, for sure that was better.
This was still better.
Yeah, it was just so surprising, and we felt so grateful. Like it's just, we can't believe that we're here.
How far along are you now?
I'm in my 3rd trimester tomorrow, or two more days. So I'm almost 27 weeks. Yeah. Yeah. So
I love that.
And I honestly still every week I'm like, I can't believe I'm so pregnant. Like it just, at this point he's here to stay. But yeah,
that's true. Like every heartbeat appointment, it was like, like what's going to happen?
Right.
And then we'd hear it and it was good. And we're like, okay, like the second time, like we heard the heartbeat and then the next week we went in. And that's another thing with this. Like most people don't have this many appointments. We've seen our OB like,
we had appointments like once a week my whole first trimester.
Because of how special this situation
yeah, they
is.
just want to
it's
make
just
sure
high risk
it's
and-
progressing. But like the second time, it took them like a couple of minutes to find the
gosh,
heartbeat.
yeah.
Longest
Like,
minutes of your life.
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
It probably was not even a couple.
It
minutes.
probably was a couple
like
seconds,
30
but-
seconds.
Felt like an
it
hour.
felt like a long time.
Yeah.
And then like the 20-week, anatomy scan. That's when they can scan his heart. So if you're wondering, he's like perfectly healthy. Like
Which honestly is like even maybe bigger of a miracle
Yeah.
than the fact that I'm pregnant is we knew that the embryo had abnormalities is what they called
which
it.
doesn't necessarily mean he was going to have like
Genetic
birth
things
defects or something.
yeah.
But it was just like.
But the whole time I was
it just
kind of
was
holding my
all
breath,
off,
you know, waiting for our like anatomy ultrasound because we knew that there was probably going to be something, or I don't know, maybe you didn't feel like
Right.
that, but I did.
So having already gone through a heartbreaking miscarriage, how long did you guys wait to tell people?
This time?
Yeah, this time.
You think we
didn't
learn.
We didn't learn.
No,
We didn't learn because there was. We should mention that we were really out of money. So even with like help and with what
We
you
sure
did,
were.
we were total. And I mean, we had bought the house. Like we were out, and so we ended up doing another thing, like a fundraise where we offered, like we had people donate services.
I remember that. You like did a little thing on Instagram.
Yeah.
I donated.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
thank
really
you.
wanted to win that airplane flight.
Honestly, no, we'll just get her
Yeah.
dad to take you on a
We'll
flight.
get you in on that. You
but-
bought your ticket on the plane.
Yeah. We felt like there were so many people who like invested in the process, not like actually invested, but like who were emotionally with us. And so we're like, we can't like be this happy and not tell them.
Well, I started to feel really guilty. So we found out really early that we were pregnant. What,
I
like
mean, with
before
IVF, you
4
find
weeks?
out way earlier than like most
Yeah.
people
So
find
we
out.
found out really early, and then I had so many people because we had just gotten back from Prague. So I had so many people at work saying, like,
Everyone assumes
I am
it's wrong. It's bad.
heartbroken
Right.
for you. I am so sorry. And I felt so bad. Like everyone's feeling so sad for us. And we have truly never been happier that it felt really wrong to be like pretending that like everything was so sad when we had like had the most shocking news.
So you just said screw it and decided
Yeah.
we're going to share these happy news. And
Totally.
and if it happens, great. And if it doesn't, then
Yeah. And
It's
honestly,
Weirdly too, though, I did have that thought, like either way, I want people to know. But weirdly enough, maybe it's that same intuition that like we, knew that we were going to have our time. I think both of us were like, this is going to work. Like, well, maybe you didn't. I did.
I didn't.
Really?
I still told people though.
Really? I totally was.
I mean,
like,
I hoped, of course,
I was
but
like, this one, like, I just couldn't. Maybe I just was in denial that
Right.
it.
you've heard 6 times the charm, right? That's good.
Right? 6 times
yeah,
the
that's how it
charm.
works. Yeah.
no, I get that, especially when like the odds are stacked up against you. It's like, is this too good to be true?
Totally.
This is really for real now, and it is. So
I think with miscarriage, a lot of people wait to tell people that you're pregnant until it's usually like second trimester, after 12 weeks is kind of like
Right.
what people say. But honestly, I'm glad that we shared
Yeah.
the first time because we needed support. Like it was so devastating
Yeah.
that I was happy that our friends knew and, but it is sad. And after every single transfer that we've ever done, it's really sad to tell people your bad news, especially when
Right.
you have so many people praying for you and hoping for you and like so many people that were in on that kind of journey with
Yeah.
us. It's like you're disappointing everyone else every time something sad happens. That's a hard aspect of it, but I'm glad that we were private about it we were private. No one even knew we were doing IVF until we miscarried. So we were really private about it for the first part of it. And then once it started going south, that's when we brought everyone on
Yeah.
board.
No, I love that and I respect that. I think it's really important for us to tell our stories, the good and the bad, because there's people out there that are going to be able to relate to you guys, right? And regardless of what their outcome was, your story is a story of hope, and holding on to that. And I think there's nothing more honorable than someone who holds on to that, to hope. So
Yeah.
I think you guys are incredible people. I really do.
That's so nice.
I love your
Thank you
story,
so much.
and I can't wait to see what's next for you guys. Having gone through this whole IVF process, and obviously you guys had a great outcome at the end of it. What advice would you give someone who's about to start this whole IVF journey?
You go first.
I don't even know. Hold on to your britches. No. I would say, I don't know, I would say cling to what you know, which that sounds kind of dumb, but it's so hard in every aspect. Like, I won't sugarcoat it. I'm sure there's a lot of people nowadays, unfortunately, who, I'm sure everyone listening probably knows someone who's done IVF or is, you know, has a friend, but it's kind of disorienting, I would say, just the strain that it puts on you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, kind of all of those things are really hard. And it gets kind of hard to, I don't know, I feel like I got flustered. And so clinging to, for me, Briggs, like, was, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, just like everything I needed during that whole process. And he was so loving and supportive through that whole thing that I know for a lot of couples, IVF is really hard on people's marriages. And that's one thing, it was really hard for us. But I feel so grateful that I feel like it just brought us closer, and kind of special that for, 2 years of our life that we were together every night at 9 p.m. doing shots for the most part, or majority of nights that, I just think cling to what you know, which in this case, if you have a faith or something that you can cling to and just kind of keep as your rock, is important, especially if it kind of drags out and takes a long time like it did for us. It definitely takes its toll, but I don't know. What would you say?
I agree 100%. I think that Sav and I's relationship feels a lot more mature than it is. I mean, we've been married for over 5 years now, but I think all of this, like our relationship, we've come out much stronger. So I'm really grateful for that. But as far as advice goes, I agree with what Savanna said. I also think, just from like a guy's perspective, you gotta just be open to like being emotional about it and like, talking about it, because in no way would I ever posit that a man's like what a man goes through in an infertility journey, especially with IVF, and like the pain that a woman goes through is like close in ways, because it's not. But one of the kind of unique things that I noticed with how it was for me and how it is for most guys in the relationship would be that you're watching your wife go through it, which is really hard. Like, you're not going through it yourself, but like you're just like feel really helpless. So like watching Savanna go through it was just like so heartbreaking, and like just go through all the pain and through all that was awful. And then on top of that, you kind of feel like you don't have anyone to talk to, or anyone, or like you shouldn't talk to anyone. And so, try to find someone to talk to. It's hard. It's awkward, hopefully we're all getting more emotionally intelligent in this day and age.
Yeah.
But that's a big one. And then Savanna said, like, if you have a faith, cling to it. That's hard to do. Like, like in that journey, like clinging to, like, we're religious, clinging to that faith was difficult, just going through all those ups and downs. But
it's way easier once you get the miracle.
Yeah,
it tested your faith, though.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
But whatever strength you have left, just like hold on to what you know. Yeah,
I love that. I think the common theme here is it's okay to be vulnerable, and you have to be vulnerable to the people around you that want to support you, right? It takes a village, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is something that can be applied to any aspect of your life, as far as whether you're going through IVF, whether you're dealing with addiction, whether you're going through divorce, whatever it may be. I feel like a lot of times as humans, but especially men, we feel like we need to figure this out on our own. Be a man, right? And just toughen up. And it's hard for us to open up to other men or to other people. But I think the second we do, not only does it make you feel better, but it also just creates a safe space for other people to also be vulnerable around you. You know, and that vulnerability, I don't think is a weakness. I think being vulnerable is probably one of the strongest things you can do as a human being.
I agree. It's funny. So there was one night in our house, I don't know why this memory is making me cry more than others, but we were sitting on the couch while we were laying down. And when people online make fun of people for like filming themselves when they cry.
Sure.
We have a ton of those videos, and it's not the way people put it online where it's like, I'm crying, let me set up my camera. It's like, no, we've been going through this journey. Like we want to have the memories and like we want to be able to remember it. So like we did just like, we've shared very little. We have lots of content of ourselves, like in really crappy situations.
Yeah.
So one of those nights we were just cuddling. We had one of our dogs laying on us as well. Savanna's head was like right here, and I took a video and I was just like crying. Mm-hmm. I think I put on my story maybe on Instagram. Maybe it was like a post, and I think it was just like a picture of us, and then it was a carousel, and I put that video in, and it was like pretty. I didn't want to get made fun of for like putting a video of myself crying online. But like as soon as I did that, a lot of guys reached out.
Yeah,
we're like, hey,
because you're not the only one that feels that way.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Your situation is maybe different than them, but we all feel alone sometimes. Yeah. We all feel hopeless sometimes. And again, when you show that vulnerability, you're being brave, and you're creating a space for other guys or women to open up.
Yeah.
And to talk
Anyone
about
who wants to cry.
Yeah. I've had my fair share of learning how to be vulnerable, because I don't know, for me it didn't come naturally. And maybe for most men it doesn't. But it's hard. It's important. It's super important. I love that you guys were there for each other and had such a big support system with your friends and your family, because probably would have been a lot harder to do all that without them.
Yeah, we're so lucky. Yeah. We had the best support system. Yeah. We had so many people supporting us and praying on our behalf. And
we had to actually kind of like go through a little bit of a, like, I don't know if it was a learning process, but like we felt guilty, like we had too much help, and we had to just kind of accept that like we're never going to repay like not just the financial support, but just like emotional support that we've received for the last like 2 years. We kind of just have to accept that like people are good, people are happy for us. We don't need to repay anything.
Not at all.
Like,
I also just like, it will bring me to tears thinking about him and when he's born, and being able to like share with him the hundreds and hundreds of people who have prayed him here, or literally paid dollars to get him here, or even just like dropped off meals or flowers or things. The last couple of years, I've kept a journal of everything that someone has done for us since we started IVF. And I'm so excited to share that with him when he's old enough to like know who these people are
and understand.
Yeah. Really. It's just like, that's so, I mean, he's going to be so loved already, which is like, what more could you ask for as the mother of this child? You know, like it's the biggest blessing. So yeah, we feel so grateful and humbled by really everything.
And I'm glad you guys did take, the financial help, because, sometimes the natural human in us wants to be prideful and say, oh no, we can't take other people's money. Right. So I think it took a lot of courage for you guys to take it, accept it, and also do like the fundraiser that you guys did on Instagram. Right. That takes vulnerability to do that. Right. But I'm glad you did it, because not everyone has those opportunities, right? So and so if you do, you jump on it, right?
Totally.
So it was so hard for me. It was
hard.
Anxious disaster. I did not want to do it. It's
Savanna
so hard.
Did not want to do it.
But I'm excited to pay it forward. We've already had all sorts of ideas of like someone else who's going through something like this. Like what people did for us is unmatched. I mean, that other people made it so that we could have a family is like amazing.
Right. It's a miracle child.
Yes, for real.
Ansel.
Yes.
Does he have a middle name?
Paige.
Paige, Ansel Paige Gallacher.
Yep. My middle name's Paige, but his is going to be spelled differently. It's Page, after Page, Arizona, which is also significant. We really wanted to throw something significant from Prague in there, but we didn't have much to work with.
Our doctor's name was Dr. Vlasic, so like,
doesn't roll off.
I can't use that one.
Yeah. Couldn't really come up with something, but yeah.
I love that. So is there anything that you guys would do differently?
That's a good question.
Now that you've been through it all.
Not to say, this is so from my perspective.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not to say that we did it perfectly, but I really don't think that I would change anything. I mean, I think it might be easier to say that because of where we're at currently. Sure. Like we're at the desired destination.
Right.
So, but even at the desired destination, you could look back and think about how you could change things. And I mean, if I had to come up with something, I think maybe being more willing to like reach out to people in the early stages of it, just for myself, because part of it also is like, I was going to say being more active, like in a community of infertility. But at the same time, you have to be ready for that emotionally. And I don't think I was, so I don't know if I would have changed that.
Gotcha.
But I think moving forward, that's something I want to do.
Yeah.
More.
I don't know how to articulate this thought, but I think that with any trial or hardship that you go through in your life, if you knew that it was going to work out, you'd be okay. Like, you know, right. If you could have a glimpse into a couple of years and know like, okay, on this date, this certain trial is going to end, then you'd be fine. You know, you could buckle up for a couple of years knowing that it would end at some point. And I feel like for the most part, that's really how everything with life is. If you knew that one day you were going to be happy after a divorce and find someone else, or, you know, whatever you're going through, if you knew that there was kind of a time that you would feel better.
Right.
And I sadly, like, I really didn't think we would ever have a family, and mostly because that's what professionals were telling us. But right. I feel like I was in the depths of despair for years, feeling like that was something that everyone else around me had the opportunity to do, but I didn't. Right. And now, like, I just posted this on Instagram a couple days ago. I posted a picture of my belly and said, like, I wish so badly I could show myself a picture of like me now, you know, and I wish I could have like had a little more hope, but I don't know. That's a slippery slope, because obviously it doesn't always work out for people, and then that's really hard to like have that hope stripped, you know. Right. But yeah, I don't know. Just probably being more positive, and I don't know.
It's weird though, because it's a balance of having realistic expectations and then being super hopeful, right? So
yeah,
it's
or people that like lose a child, like that. That pain doesn't ever go away. So that's like kind of a dumb thing to say, because that's like, you know, looking down years down the road, their life just looks totally different. So that's a hard thing to like have in every trial.
Right. I think you carry it with you for the rest of your life.
But, for sure.
But you become stronger.
Yeah. And anyways, so I don't know if I articulated that well, but that's what I would change. Just probably more positivity. And yeah, I would say reaching out to people too. I had a really hard time reaching out to people at the beginning. And now in hindsight, I can see like how much people carried me through that.
Right.
That I wish I would have allowed that in probably earlier, but it's hard to do that.
Yeah, no, I love that. I understand that. So when's your due date?
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
So
you got a summer baby.
Yes. Yeah. We went to Mexico on a baby moon recently.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was so fun. Nice. And the bellman said, "Oh, you're pregnant. That's so exciting. When's the due date?" And I said, "Oh, June 3rd." And he said, "Oh, how'd you pick that date?"
How'd you pick that?
Briggs and I kind of looked at each other. We're like, "Oh,
little does he know.
Summer baby. We planned it for June 3rd. Great time to have a baby."
Right. Yeah.
So, I love that. Yeah, it's good. It's a good time to have a baby. We're excited.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I can't wait to see, you know, the rest of the story unfold, right? And I can't wait to see his little face and pictures of it. I'm sure you guys we'll have something planned or videos or something on Instagram that I'll follow curiously.
You'll meet him in person.
Yeah,
I would love that.
Yes,
Kim would love to have you guys over for dinner, or we go back over to your place. Yeah, I would love that.
We always joke that for sure there was a mishap in Prague. Like, this is going to be a Czech baby. Like, something happened. And we recently got a 3D ultrasound, and the ultrasound tech was like, "Whoa, I've never seen baby's lips that big." Briggs has huge lips that it's confirmed it's Briggs' baby. So
he also has big calves.
We're sweet. Enough, it's ours.
It's for sure. I love that. Cool, guys. Well, is there anything else you guys want to finish with?
No, this has been fun.
Yeah, this has been fun.
I've never done a podcast before.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you guys could be here. I really appreciate you guys being vulnerable and telling your story. Again, I think it's one that a lot of people that have been following you probably want to know a little bit more about the whole journey. And then I think it's going to also give a lot of people who may be going through something similar a lot of hope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just say, I felt it's really starting the IVF process or infertility kind of in general is really overwhelming. There's just so many different aspects, and especially like medically, it's really overwhelming too. That I had one friend who had been through it and was like everything I needed and told me everything I needed to know. That I so hope that I can help people who have questions. Sometimes it's like hard to know who to ask, and just anyway. So if you're starting, and please reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Where can people find you?
Instagram. I don't even know what my handle is. What is it? Sav Gallacher. I think that's what it is. anyways, but yeah, I'm sure you'll tag it on your Instagram.
Yeah,
Sav
I'll
Gallacher.
tag you guys. Sav Gallacher on Instagram. Yeah,
Spelled funny.
I think that's great, and you're gonna pay that forward, right?
Yeah,
And
for sure.
Be that person for someone else out there, and you too.
Yeah,
right, for the
Briggs
guys.
Gallacher.
For the guys out
Briggs
there.
Gallacher. Yeah, for the guys out there, we got feelings too.
Yeah, totally.
For sure.
Okay, awesome,
Thanks
guys.
for having us.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah, this has been fun.
Thanks for listening to the Mindset with Mako podcast, sponsored by Mako Real Estate LLC. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review. And if you know someone with an amazing story to share, DM me on Instagram at AdrianMako_Utah Realtor. Until next time, remember, if you want to change your life, you must first change your mindset.